Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we're down here in Lexington, South Carolina. We've got a really interesting job. You can see the pool here behind me. And what we've got going on here is a lot of concrete to cut, a lot of gravel to move. And what's been happening here is that you can see the courtyard, really beautiful courtyard. And there's just no place for this water to go. When it comes down here, it just floods. The homeowner, Mike, over here, this is Mike, he's the homeowner. He's done so much here to try to solve this problem, but it's just not enough. So we're going to see what we can do here and maybe put a couple sump pumps in and cut a lot of concrete. And let's get started.
Okay, I just kind of wanted to notice that you can see the sandbags. When it flooded here during the hurricane about a month ago, this water poured into Mike's house about a foot deep and actually came out the front door. I'm pretty sure that Columbia, Lexington area here received about 11 inches of rain during that hurricane. And you can just imagine this entire courtyard, it's just like a giant pool. Even though he has a swimming pool in the backyard, this entire area was 1.5 feet deep with water. And it just poured through that patio door, through his house, out the front door. Everything was underwater, everything. And so he has a sump pump, but it could not possibly keep up. What we are doing is we are going to install new drainage system all the way around the pool. And you can see we're using the saw, making cuts. We've got to remove that concrete first. So the first day of this job is basically just to cut concrete. And once we remove that, then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll start to trench. We'll install new drainage systems, catch basins, gravel perforated pipe, and we're going to put in a second sump pump and a second sump pit to help really move this water out of this area. Hopefully this will work. This is a lot of cutting of concrete, a lot of day of just bent over with your partner saw, but if you believe you can do this, I guarantee you can. It's a slow process. Concrete saws, they work great. They cut like butter, but they only cut a few inches, at a time, and it takes hours to cut this much concrete. The secret is be patient, keep your smile, and just keep working. We're using a Makita partner saw, concrete saw, with a diamond tip blade, and you'll notice that we have to run water here because if you don't, that blade's going to get so hot it will get dull very quickly. And the water helps, cool down the blade. It also helps keep down the dust because there's a lot of concrete dust as you cut with a concrete saw. The real secret of cutting concrete, which I've said many times, is that you need to cut all the way through the concrete. That's the most important thing that you need to do. We've got quite a bit of concrete cut. You can see some of the cuts here. This is a long cut. It's about 35-40 feet. Remember, you have to cut it twice so that you can break it to pull it out. And again, pulling out the concrete, it's a little bit of a chore, but we're going to show you exactly how to do that here in just a second. And it's not as hard as you think. You definitely got to work at it, but you don't need a jackhammer for the most part. Usually a pry bar is all you need.
Concrete comes out, but it takes a little bit of work. So we've got a good trench going. You can see the cuts coming over here. And the reason that we came over here is because the water pools up here. And you can see it actually was going into the pool just from the garden hose. So you can imagine the rain probably went in there too. Okay, so over here where they're breaking out this footer of the wall, there's going to be another sump pit. And you can see I've already made one cut here all the way across, coming over here to the saw, where we're going to be hooking up that French drain and this downspout, as well as a small catch basin in the patio drive and a downspout around the corner. So we're getting ready to make our second cut, which will be right there where my foot is. That's going to run all the way back here to the sump pit. We also need to cut from this downspout coming over here to this trench. And we're also going to add one more cut right here by the pool filter and bring that line into this also. A little catch basin right there.
Okay, so to remove your concrete, you'll notice we've got a pry bar. The pry bar weighs about 16 pounds. And all you need to do is just keep hitting the concrete over and over. It's just like a jackhammer, but we're human jackhammers. You hit it enough and that concrete becomes weak and it cracks right off. The real secret is, if you notice, we've cut clear through the concrete. If you do not cut through the concrete, you'll have to come back again and try to recut it, or you'll end up with a jackhammer to get this out of here. But very simple job. Put it in your wheelbarrow, haul it away. So now some more cuts. We've got several more cuts to do in the concrete. Again, run that water. You can see the dust when you first start with your saw, but that water helps keep that dust down quite quickly. This is off of the downspout. We're very close to the pit itself. Once this is cut, we're going to remove it. We're going to add a catch basin. We're almost done cutting concrete. Again, we spent the first day here just cutting concrete. But you got to get down underneath of this concrete so you can get to the drain itself that you're going to install. Again, pounding that concrete, pretty simple. Lift it right up. Don't worry about the extra cuts. Remember, concrete saws do cut straight. They don't cut curves. And you can see a few extra cuts. That's normal. The saw has to make those cuts in order for you to pull this concrete out. When we put the concrete back, it will totally disappear. It'll fill up with Portland cement and look very, very good.
So of course, after you cut all that concrete, you've got to get rid of it. So we're here at the county landfill, and you can see lots of concrete debris. Luckily, this one was open here on a Saturday because the one in South Carolina was closed. So we had to bring this all the way back to Charlotte from Columbia. Doesn't look like a lot of concrete, but there's probably at least 2,000 pounds of it in here. Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. This is day 2 down here in Lexington, South Carolina. We've cut all the concrete yesterday, and you can kind of see what we've got going on so far this morning. We're starting to excavate. Here at the end of this trench here in the concrete, we're going to put a small basin. That line's coming over. Downspout with a Y brings it in. We're going to tie into the existing French drain right here, which runs underneath all this gravel. Over here, we're going to make a new connection to the downspout. You can see the downspout right there. We'll tie the French drain into that, which is what it's doing right now, but we're going to, because it's under the concrete, we're just following our trench. And then down through the main trench, you can see we've already started the excavation there. There are a couple of pool return lines here that we had to go under, but not a big deal. All the way down, hooking up catch basin over here, and Chuck's almost got it trenched clear over here where we're going to put the second sump pit. There's actually 2 pits going in here. You can see the hole for the first one, but we're going to pull this one out and put a much larger pit in here, and then we're going to hook up this French drain. You can see that pipe. That pipe just ended here with gravel, and the way it worked before is the water went down through the gravel and flooded up into the pit, and then the pump, which is here, carried it away. French drain runs all the way around his pool. Getting bright over there, but all the way around the pool, and that's bringing that water that comes through that wall, because it's actually, I'd say 6 or 7 feet is the grade behind that wall where the dirt is, and the water just pours down through there. So we need that French drain to work as well. Okay, so I just wanted to point out again, you can see these sandbags, and during that hurricane, I don't know how many inches they had, 10, 11, 12 inches of rain here, tremendous amounts of rain, and that water just poured right through here. The sandbags definitely help, so don't forget that if you ever do have a major flood. They really help a lot, but it just poured through, in through the French doors, on into his house. The bulk of the water actually came on and around the side of the house, but it's still, and his pool was underwater. Everything in this courtyard was 1.5 feet deep. So you can just kind of imagine what it would be like to be in a flood like that, and to be worried that it's just going to, just totally wreak havoc inside your house, which it did. Okay, so we've got our 2 pits dug and installed. You can see our PVC. Got a little drain that will act as a clean out. Plumbed the new line over to the wall to pick up the downspout. The guys are covering. We've got a catch basin over here that we're going to be hooking up with the concrete covered up. Now they're spreading the drain to the French drain, and everything's coming together. Hey, good morning. Chuck here at Apple Drains. We're here on our final day of this install down in Lexington, and you can see we've got our drains installed. Little drain here, picks up the downspout through the gravel. Another drain, downspout, all through the concrete. Catch basin, small drain here for access. Another downspout coming over here to 2 sump pits. We're going to be putting in another sump pump into this pit and hooking up the French drain that comes around the pool. And we're going to replumb this with 4-inch pipe going all the way out to the front of the house. Okay, so we've got our 2 pits installed. You can see our 2 sump pumps that we're getting ready to plumb. The reason that we have 2 pits is this one, the far one, actually picks up all of this new installation where we cut the concrete, hooked up, and we've got the roof coming down in here. There's probably close to 1,500 square feet of roof. All of this decking out here is also coming in here. The French drain that's underneath the gravel over there. All of that is coming down into the second pit, which is this one. And inside this pit, we've got the French drain that runs along the wall. So all along this retaining wall and over to the big retaining wall over in there, there is a gravel perforated pipe, what people call French drains, and that is draining into the first pit with its own pump. And I believe that will take care of the bulk of the water. However, you will never beat Mother Nature, but I think we put a real good dent in the problem here. Okay, so our basic plumbing setup, you can see we've got 2 sump pits, 1.5-inch discharge, and we have to enlarge so that we can come into the 4-inch pipe, which is going to discharge on top of the ground because he doesn't want to cut this concrete. So we're going to go all the way out front, but we have to have a head, we have to have a rise, and the head is from the bottom of the pump to the highest point, which is here. And at that point, this will actually flow downhill. So the pump's only going to be lifting about maybe 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet, and then gravity takes over, and so that pump can pump just as fast as it possibly can. So let's go ahead and plumb this tight, cut a hole in the lid for the second pit, and then we'll be ready to install the discharge and finally go ahead and pour our concrete. Okay, so we've got everything plumbed up. You can see our 2 sump pits with the 2 discharge, the risers coming up. We actually gave him some quick no hubs so that he could disconnect this in the future. But we've got 2.5-inch lines, and we needed to have a good gravity discharge, so we ran it up a little bit high. We went into 4-inch, and that 4-inch, as you can see, now runs downhill all the way out to the front of the house. And the reason that we did this is only because of cost. Normally this would be put underground, but to cut all that concrete, we're talking over a little over 120 feet of concrete, a couple cuts. You're looking at quite a budget. So this, for right now, we're just temporarily on top of the ground and letting it discharge all the way out to the front of the house. So we just use the hoe and the wheelbarrow. The reason we use a hoe is because it's got those 2 little holes in it. It just kind of lets the concrete water flow through it, mix it all up. We get a good wet mix, and then we just pour it back in. Then we'll trowel it out.
Your concrete back into your cuts is actually a pretty easy job. It does take quite some time. It took us about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, to put all this back, trowel it out, get a nice finish on it. something that the homeowner can do themselves, and it's probably the most rewarding part of your job, because now you're really at the end of the job, finishing up, and you want to make it as best that you can. Take your time, have fun with it. After a 2-day job here and you've been moving concrete, trenching, and you're pretty exhausted, this is the best part of your job. Mix your concrete, try to get a really good mix, pour it down into your little trench, trowel it out. It's nice if you have a helper, but you can still do it yourself. I've done this many times all by myself. Great that I have really good help today, and things go pretty smoothly. Ideally, you want to make sure that concrete is nice and flush to the surface. Don't worry about spilling a little bit on the side. You just scrape it off with your trowel and it will all come out. First rain, it'll just disappear. Let it set up. It takes about 2 days for that concrete to set up. It'll turn extremely white. That's something that I tell every homeowner, that when we make a cut, the concrete's going to be bright white, because it's age of concrete that makes color. And he's going to actually either stamp the deck with a concrete stamp, or maybe do a spray over top of it, which will give him a really nice finish. Remember that this courtyard is beautiful. It's a concrete backyard, and there was no place for this water to go. You can see us just finishing up here right by the sump pump. Last little bit of concrete, and then you're all done. Remember to keep your trowel wet, clean it off often. It's real important. That'll help keep you with a real good smooth finish, and within a couple of hours you'll have all your concrete poured and mixed, and you'll be done taking a look at your project and you'll smile. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.